Okay, here's our learning target for today. I can use formulas to determine the area of figures that can be decomposed into rectangles and squares. So this right here, this part of our learning target we worked on last week, finding the area of rectangles and squares. And this word right here, decompose, just means to be able to break apart or pull something into its pieces, kind of separate. So, what you're going to see today are some irregular figures that you don't necessarily see a lot, that are kind of uncommon. But what we can do is use our area formula for rectangles and squares. Area equals base times height, or area equals length times width, to find the area of them. And then after we decompose them, separate them, we'll put them back together to find the total area. Okay, first one we're going to do is this one right here. Now you're probably looking at it and thinking, wow, that's different. It is. This is an irregular figure. So it means it's not a square, it's not a rectangle. It is kind of both at the same time. Okay. Now, what we want to do, I'm going to write our area formula here. Area equals base times height. What we want to do is to be able to break this or decompose this into pieces that we know how to find the area, because with this weird shape, we don't have an area formula for it. Okay. Now, the tricky part about this is, do you see how there are measurements like right here, 9 meters, 10 meters, 3 meters, 6 meters? When we go to break this apart, we want to be able to use those to find the area. So you'll see some pieces of this are missing, like for example, right here. So one thing I like to do before I even pick and choose how to break this up, especially when we just start, is I like to try and find those missing pieces. Okay, and that's one thing we're going to work on in class together. So the first thing you know about rectangles is that opposite sides are equal, have the same length. So if I know this top part right here is 10, and I can see that part of it right here, oh, sorry, my thing didn't want to draw a nice line there, is 3. I got that from right there. How can I find this piece if I know the total of these two is 10 and I have 3? Well, I could do subtraction and I can figure out that this part is 7 meters. Same thing over here. If I know that this length here, from here to here, is equal to 9 meters, and I know that because over here, 9 meters, and I know that part of that is being taken up by this side length from here to here is 6 meters. How can I figure out this chunk right here that is not labeled? And I could do the same thing with subtraction. 9 minus 6. I know that this piece right here is 3 meters. Okay. Now each one of our sides has a label. Now we're going to start. I'm going to erase that because it could be a little bit distracting for us. To break this down, to find the area of the pieces. So what I noticed, there's a couple ways you could do this, but I notice right here, if I draw a line, and I'm going to try real hard to do a dotted line. We only have a 5-minute video though. Right here, do you see how that makes a square? I know it doesn't really look like a square, but we know that the sides are 3 meters and 3 meters. So we know this is a square, and then we are left with just this rectangle left. Yeah. So now we can begin to use our formulas to find the area of these pieces. So for this one right here, I'm going to draw an arrow out. We're going to do area equals 3 times 3. Area equals 9 meters square, or 9 square meters. Okay. So I know this one is equal to 9. Now we need to find the area of this big rectangle. So here's the tricky part. Some of you might look and say, okay, Miss Brocker, I see we are just going to multiply 10 times 9. But remember, 10 counts for this whole length. And we already used this piece for our square, so we can't use 10. And then you might look down here and say, oh, let's use 6 and 7. But remember, 6 only goes this high. We need the whole base and height. So for this one, we are going to use 7 and 9. Those are our base and height of our rectangle that is left. So area equals 9 times 7. Area equals 63 square meters. So if this one is 63 square meters and this one is 9, how can we find the total? Oh, we can add those two together. So right down here, I'm just going to add. I'm going to actually not rewrite this. I'm going to cheat and write it right here. 63 plus 9. I have to regroup here. And 7. 7